So Munif, let's start at the beginning. So tell us like the origin story. How did this whole real estate thing become an idea, a seed? Like why? Why real estate?
Interesting. Uh, this is a good question. Um, how far back do we go? Do we go back childhood? Do we go back further?
Where does it root from? Like again, like you're here today. Like where would you say was that point? Like okay, this is why I want to do real estate. And then what was even your first?
I'll start in the beginning. So I'll start in the beginning. This is when I was a child. Um, I was always very free. I was always very. I didn't like constraints. I didn't like pressure. Just other people's expectations. So I thought I was going to be a doctor. And so I went to school. Even since middle school, I went to like special magnet programs and magnet schools, like magnet high schools, where you have to like test to get in. And it was like engineering, medicine based stuff. So I did engineering stuff, middle school and high school, and I did biomedical things. Um, so like the plan was go train to be a doctor, and the fallback option is an engineer. This was the plan. And I was a terrible student. I scored very well, but as a student, I got distracted in school because I would talk to my neighbors. And then I would always, every class, every new grade, every new teacher, I would get in trouble for talking to my neighbors. And then I remember a few of my teachers would try to put me next to them. They would literally like move their desk right next to theirs and just isolate me. They said, keep an eye on you. What they did not realize is I would talk to them. And so they're supposed to be grading tests. Everyone's reading and I'm asking them about their weekend and they're telling me their life story. But then they're not getting their work done. And so they would put me back to the class. They'd say, okay, and they couldn't stay mad at me. It was impossible to stay mad at me. And I didn't know I had this superpower. I thought I was an engineer, so I would study I would actually get zeros on quizzes and homework assignments because I realized at a young age that if I just do well on the tests, I would get an A. So flash forward to college. My degree was in biomedical engineering. It was both, biology, engineering, biomedical engineering. And then I shadowed doctors as part of my training. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this. I was like, there's no freaking way I'm going to do this. And I didn't know how to tell my parents. So like I graduated, get my degree. They're like, okay, take the MCATs. I take the MCATs. I kick ass. They're like, okay, time to apply. All this stuff. And I'm like delaying it, right? I'm just like delaying. And one day I told my parents, I was like, I'm not doing this. No way in hell I'm doing this. This is crap. I'm not working like this for cool. It's good money. Doctors make six and a half figures. They work their guts off. I didn't want to do that. Not like this. I didn't like how they did it either. It was just very process oriented. They just treated symptoms. It was a whole bunch of things. I just didn't want to do it. So my parents were like, yeah, no problem. What are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And so I lived with them. Like after I graduated, everyone was getting jobs. I stayed at home. And I stayed at home for about a year and a half. I stayed in my mom's basement. I didn't know I was a bum. I didn't know what I was going to do. And there was a breaking point where I went to my buddy, Daniel. He was graduating. I drove down to his graduation. I go and I didn't have money. So I asked my dad for some gas money. He gave me $20. So I calculated I could spend maybe like $5 on gas, maybe 15 on dinner. Maybe I paid like eight on my tab, $8 on my tab, and I paid tip, so it's 18, something like that. And I get to dinner. It was great. And then I'm looking at the menu and I'm like studying the menu. And everyone gets a round of a drink. And I passed. I was like, no. And the guy next to me, I've never met this guy. He goes, how come you're not getting a drink? And I said, I don't know why I said the truth, but I said the truth. I don't know why I told him the truth, but I told him I couldn't afford it. And he goes, what are you talking about? And it's on me. He's like, it's on me. Don't worry, get it. And it was just like this small gesture, but I wanted to cry. I was so touched. This guy doesn't know me. And, it was so nice. And he had just graduated too. He had a job lined up, a $60,000 a year job. And I was like, wow, he's making $60,000 a year. I'm spreading this $20. This is like my net worth right here. And I was like, wow, this is like buying me a drink is nothing to this guy. This is amazing. So I never forgot. I don't even know his name. I will never forget his face. I don't even know this man's name, but it changed my life. So I get back the next day. I tell my dad, I said, Dad, I'm done with this crap I'm doing. I'm going to get a job. I know IT is good. I have an engineering background. Let me get something with computers. In 6 months, I have a 6-figure job. I applied myself. I got a job. And I moved out. I got my own place. Life is good. But then I realized this paycheck that comes in is like, it's like a drug. You know, it's like this, they give you this money that you can't get more. You have to like actually beg them for a little bit more, maybe 5% more. Maybe you have to beg. You have to get on your hands and knees. And I wanted to buy things, but I couldn't afford them. What is this? Can't afford. And then I read this book. I actually bought a condo. I bought a condo. I think it's this brilliant investment. I buy a condo in DC. I still own it. And literally 2 weeks after I close on this condo, I read this magical book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You may have heard of it. And it's like the first chapter is like, yeah, your home is not your biggest investment. That's a freaking lie. Like it's a huge liability unless it's earning you money. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just bought this freaking condo. Are you kidding me? Like, I just bought an investment property. Like, this is so, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And so I read the book and it changes my life. It was like the first mental paradigm shift I've ever had, right? I'm just like, really? You can earn money like this? This I don't understand. And then I start getting like Instagram ads for like the Rich Dad, Poor Dad program. And my cousin Faisal, I call him and I'm like, hey, I bought the tickets for this program. You must come. Let's go. Let's go together. And he doesn't want to go. I'm like, no, you must come. You must. We have to see this. So I drag him in there and we do this 3-day workshop. And we're sold. We're like hooked. We're like, there's no way. This is unreal. Like, no freaking way. And we like buy their like deluxe package. And like, I remember I had no money. Like, I literally like I just bought a condo. I put like renovations on like a credit card. Like, I had no money, and so Faisal lent me the money for it. And that was the start of my real estate journey. And like, literally, I get this and. I was like the biggest, I like took this engineering process and I applied it to like this real estate investment business. And for 2 years, I never made money. I analyzed, I comped, I took other mentorships. They were the first, but I took like 2 or 3 more. And it didn't click with me. I just did a little bit of everything. I just couldn't. And then Faisal and I, we really didn't do much business together. He ended up doing his own thing. I did my own thing. And he calls me one day. He goes, bro, if you're still ever interested in real estate, you've got to check out Pace Morgan. Got to check out Pace Morgan. I'm like, whoa, who's Pace? So I like Google him. I watch a YouTube. And it's like this live where he's like talking to a seller, like explaining creative finance. And I knew the concept of creative finance, but I'd never heard somebody actually articulate it as well as he did to a seller. And I was like, I got to learn from this guy. I'm like, I might never even talk to this guy, but I want to get in this program, this mentorship. I want to watch his videos. So I actually DM him. I'm like, hey, like, is this mentorship worth it? Like literally, I was like, I have a screenshot of the DM. Like, is this worth it? And I work 9 to 5. At the time, I had a sick girlfriend, my ex, but at the time she was very sick, and I took care of her. I was like, I got all these obligations, and like, do I even have time like to do this? And he's like, yeah, man, like 8 to 10 your time. We meet every day as a group. And I was like, perfect, let's do it. So like I literally call his salespeople and they're like trying to sell me on the court. And I'm like, no, you don't have to sell me. I'm like, where do I sign? And they're like, do you want to know how much? I'm like, I actually don't care. Like, where do I sign? And like they tried to like, hey, like there's a pro. I'm like, no, like my cousin's in it. Like I want to do it. Like I will sign right now. And they signed me on, and the rest is history. I get in, I go to those meetings in the morning. I find out that they're role plays. You like pretend to talk to a seller. So somebody, it's a group of like anywhere between 70 to 200 people who show up in the mornings, and they highlight, different students, and there's a coach, and they coach people through role play. So you pretend to talk and negotiate. And I thought it was going to be simple, but my first one, I get on the phone, and I'm so nervous because I've talked to maybe 4 or 5 sellers in my life. Even in those 2 years, I was too nervous to talk to actual sellers. And I do the role play, and I'm so nervous, I hang up the phone. I literally hung up the role play phone. I said, hey, this is Munif. They go, who's calling? Why are you calling me? And I say, oh, I'm so sorry. Must be a wrong number. I just like hang. So they were so nice to me that first day. They're like, hey man, great effort. But next time we don't hang up on our sellers. Let's stay on the phone. Like, don't give up. Like, just stay on. So the next day I do this. I'm like, okay, don't just keep them on the phone as long as you can. And I literally would just keep them on. And back then when they did the daily dial, the role plays, now they help you. So if you get stuck, they'll pause it and they'll help you. Back then they didn't. So if you're just sitting there just like waiting, it's just dead silent, and like no one helps you. And then the seller's just like, what's going on? And you just say what it was very painful. But I did this every morning for 6 months. And before I knew it, I had my own streaming show where I'm calling real sellers. I'm streaming them to a live audience. A few months later, I find myself in a competition where it's a sales competition called the Closers Olympics. And I'm talking to live sellers with a shot clock, with 30 minutes on the clock. And I have to get a deal in 30 minutes. And I won second place in the competition. So this is my origin story.